You're watching Analysts After Dark, an underground hideaway where insatiably curious analysts examine provocative project problems, share salacious secrets, and establish a covert network of co-conspirators. Step into the dark with your hosts, AJ Hawley and Steve Jones.
Hello, hello.
How's it going, Steve?
It's going fantastic. What's new with you?
I just got back from Albuquerque. So
Oh,
went
that's
to
right.
the Project Summit Business Analyst World Conference and had a great time. It was the first time doing that in Albuquerque, which was fun. I'd never been, so it was interesting seeing the completely different landscape. The weather was totally different than what I'm used to. You know, it's all hot and sticky here. It was nice and cool and beautiful there. So
nice.
it was great.
That's
and it was
awesome.
a fun conference. Yeah.
And it was the first time there.
Yeah. So this was a new city, and it was the first time that they had brought that conference to this city. So we got to see a little bit of the sites around. It's a really interesting area of Albuquerque and near Old Town. And we got to go to all these different shops. They have Native American wares that you can, handmade things and souvenirs you can take home. They had Breaking Bad, like everything. It's hugely popular there. And they had like this little candy shop that sold like blue crystals that you can eat, like candy sugar, which was kind of funny.
Cool.
It was good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we're here celebrating the jam.
Yeah, I was gonna say your background changed.
Just a little bit, yeah. Well,
bit.
This is one that you created, right?
It is. Yeah.
And I thank you for it.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're right. So today is something different. We are a part. This is one of the 20 sessions or more sessions that are part of the BA Jam, which is a celebration of business analysis, past, present, and future, talking about what business analysis is, celebrating the things that we've done in the past, and then also talking about where this might go in the future. So this is one of the other episodes. I know that there have been several others already. I think Fabricio had one. Philippe Hendricks had one. Did Vince have one yet? I thought he did too, like earlier. But there's been several shows already.
There's been quite a few, yeah.
Yeah. So if you haven't checked that out yet, make sure that you do. In fact, let's do a little promo. Nice.
That promo's fun.
It is. But today is going to be a lot of fun. We have a fantastic speaker with us. I actually got to see him in Albuquerque. He was the morning keynote the first day, and did an awesome job. It's everybody engaged, so everyone's like excited going into that session and then definitely coming out. So today we have with us Kupersmith. And you've actually met Kupe before, right? Like you said that you'd had him in Boston.
Yep. I've known Kupe going back to 2006 or 7 when he was making the rounds on the IIBA circuit. So He came up to Hartford multiple years. We'd see him 2 times a year or so. He was fantastic.
Wonderful.
And lately I've seen him at some of the conferences. So, good to catch up.
Well, let's introduce Kupe. So Kupe started his career as an accountant, then moved to improv comedy, and then went on to run businesses and large strategic initiatives for organizations in the finance, energy, entertainment, and sports management industries. He credits his failure as an accountant as the greatest gift he's ever received. Fun fact, he's on the record as the best failure of the CPA exam. This was his sign to focus on something else that he loved and cared about. He pursued a desire to make others laugh and performed with an improv comedy troupe for many years. And he realized quickly that improv skills is what made him a desired team member, collaborator, and communicator. His professional passion is leading teams to reach goals and help people succeed in whatever they pursue by amping up how they interact with their team members. So, without further ado, let's welcome Kupersmith.
Oh my God, there's so many folks out there. I love it. Thank you. That's awesome. Hey guys, what's happening?
Hey, Coop.
Good times.
Yeah. So I thought it was my greatest failure, but my Jewish parents, having a failed accountant is not what they expected. Yeah.
But you've done well for yourself since then.
Yeah, I think so. I think I redeemed myself. They're good now.
I mean, I've had several family members that were accountants that have changed.
Yeah.
One in particular, my brother-in-law switched from that to making beer.
Hey.
So totally different shift.
Yeah, you got to move somewhere distant. I do know, like earlier in my career, when I started speaking, I would ask BAs, like, so how many people were accountants before? Because I was just curious. And it's surprising there's a lot of BAs that were accountants. And there is an analytical thinking you have to have, and that I learned through that profession to be a good BA and be a good team member on projects.
But only shifty accountants think outside the box.
But I still hire somebody else to do my taxes.
I mean, with that score, and if you were the lowest and you're still on record, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was bad. Yeah, I haven't checked in a few years, but it's probably still there.
Like, do they have like CPA Razzie awards?
Right. If they did, I would have clearly won back in 1993. Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I could do with accounting was one semester, and that was enough.
Yeah, I should have saw that sign a lot earlier, but hey, things happen when they happen, and
that's right.
That's what you got to go with.
So outside of that, what do you do now?
So primarily, I'm a keynote speaker, and I primarily talk about how you use improv skills to be a better collaborator, communicator, team player. So in the 90s, I performed improv comedy on stage. That's when I was transitioning from accounting to IT. I also, picked up improv, auditioned for a troupe. They brought me on, trained me, and then I performed for about 10 years in Atlanta.
Wow.
I kind of realized like those skills to be a good improv artist, apply directly not only to people in the IT profession like BAs, but everybody. So it's kind of fun. I go out and we play improv games and talk about how that applies to them as people in their personal and professional lives. But I transitioned into an IT role first, like a reporting analyst, because I was a subject matter expert in accounting platforms, financial systems, and so went into a reporting analyst to help other accountants in the company, and then became a BA and then project manager, and now I'm a portfolio manager, kind of running some large initiatives.
Very cool.
So you went from being a C to transitioning into supporting projects.
Yeah, and I still think people that are wanting to get into the role but work in the business, it's a great way to transition. Like be a SME in the area and then work on projects. I mean, they're working on projects anyway, if they're giving the requirements, but now you're kind of flipping to the other side to figure out how you can help that group.
So you've been around a while. What's your
like, wow. Like we're like 9 minutes in and boom, the old joke. All right.
Hey, Cooper, apparently that's what we're doing. That's
you went from being a joke accountant to making people laugh in other ways.
Right. Okay. So you're just all right. I'll play with you. Let's go.
That's about all I have. No. So my question is, what have you seen from a historical perspective as far as BAs and teamwork and collaboration?
Yeah. So I mean, it was always important. But I think there was more siloedness, back in, when I started in the role, kind of in the mid to late 90s. I mean, it was more siloed, right? There was a BA role. All the training was around, focusing on the role. Like somebody has the title and that's what they do. Teams were kind of set up, in a way where you had PMs that had their boundaries, BAs had their boundaries, developers had their boundaries. So I think coming into that, prior to me working in this fashion, I think it was, you had engineers, developers, programmers that kind of did it all. And then it took when I was getting in the profession, it kind of, the pendulum swung all the other way pretty much, where now you had specific roles in the organization. So yes, was there teamwork, but it was teamwork in little bites and pieces. The BA would go off and get the requirements and be working, with the stakeholders and the business, and then come back to the team. That was the time where the BA was called the translator, the bridge, all those terms that I don't like to use these days, but that's what we were kind of brought. If you can be good with communication, then you can be a good BA. That was the big line, because you were communicating, trying to elicit requirements from the stakeholders, and then, on the other side, translating that for a development team that would try to design a solution to fit those needs. But and it was really a bridge where stakeholders were on one side, the IT team was on the other, and the BA would keep walking back and forth across that bridge. So it was difficult. I mean, it was, job security, or, it was a challenge for me to try, how do you kind of bring those two teams closer? But, I worked with a lot of great developers, but even the great developers were like, I don't want to be in those conversations, until we know what they want. Like, don't talk to me yet. So, and the business people would get frustrated with some developers, because there would be some developers that would be talking about the solution, right, too quickly for the stakeholders' appetite, and that, there would be a lot of frustration. So I think that's primarily, a reason why that role kind of popped in there. But now, the way teams are organized, and, I'll use the term agile, but I think agile was like a big proponent of really popularizing the one team. Like, we are a team, and there's 10 of us, 12 of us, however many. There's people that know the business, there's people that primarily develop, there's people that test, there's people that understand how to break things down into smaller chunks, and I'll call that the BA. We have all these skill sets, and let's just use the skill sets of the team to get where we need to go. And I wrote a blog years ago that, my first Agile project was way before Agile was a thing, because that's how I like to, when I moved into the PM space, that's how I like to run the projects. I got my team in a room. It was like, hey, we're assigned this project. I didn't get to pick my team members, right? I had to, whoever I had was my team. I'm like, we have the 8 of us, and we have to go from here to here. How are we going to get there? And I don't care what your title is. I don't care what you are supposed to do per the HR job title. Like, what skills do you have? What can you do to get us, across the finish line? And so I think the BA role, the BA concept, the role is less. And I remember at an IIBA conference, I said, and I forgot what year, I wish I remembered what year it was. I missed the mark. I missed this, but I was on a panel discussion, and I said the BA title is going to be gone in 5 years. And this was had to be like 10 years ago now. So I was wrong, because it's still out there. But the whole message was not that the title was gone. It was that it shouldn't be one person's role on the team, or a few people on the team, to do that work. I've worked with great developers that actually were better BAs than I was, and I would get them, up at the whiteboard. You drive this conversation, because you know this stuff better. You're actually going to be the one that needs to take that information and design a solution. So go ask your questions, and I'll fill in the blanks. So it's kind of going from, siloed roles to a point where the team is coming together and figuring out what goal they're trying to accomplish, and whoever on the team has the right skill and has the availability at the right time to go fill that role. And it doesn't have to be the person that's the BA. And unfortunately, I still hear that a lot, though. It's like, I'm not writing a story. I'm not the BA. The BA should be putting that in Jira.
That's one of the things that I hate the most is like
Kill me.
BAs, they have to write every single story. It's like, no, the entire team
Yeah.
can write any story. The
right.
BA is the one that should be the one reviewing it and, you know, bringing that
Yeah,
back. to
maybe
the
their main job. And I think it's good for role clarity. Like whatever the team, and this is so to me, role clarity is not good if, you know, someone at a higher level says all BAs do this, all developers do this. But at a team level, let the team figure out how they're gonna be most productive. I mean, if you let the people that are on the team decide how to accomplish something, it's going to be more productive than a manager or even someone two
Right.
levels, three levels past them telling everybody what to do.
You mentioned the bridge between, you know, BAs
Troubled
and they
waters.
actually had to walk across. I just kept imagining that Monty Python and the Holy Grail, right? Where there's the bridge, like, what is your favorite color? They have to answer that question before they go. And
Oh yeah,
red.
Blue.
I don't know that. You know,
I don't know. Oh, yeah.
no, I think it's funny. And then you said that the BA role was going to be gone within 5 years. I think
Well,
you
the
just
title,
the
yeah.
title, right?
Yeah.
I think you just say last year. You said that last year, and then now you've got at least 4 more years.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's great.
So.
Hey, baby. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
I got some fans in the room. So.
Nice.
You got some fans online too.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, awesome. Yeah, see Mark's out there, Amy, Angela. Cool.
Robert joining in too. Hey, Robert.
Wonderful. So basically what you're saying is that, kind of sum up, is that we went from solid specific roles to more of a cross-functional role now as teams, and there's a little bit of overlap between what you might do as a PM and what, you know, Steve might do as a BA, and that can change per team. So you've got different teams that can, you know, somebody might have strict BA PM, somebody else might have more of a it's fluid, so we kind of oversee each other's things, and but at the same time all the work gets done.
Yeah, I think, and let me say, I work, there's many teams at the company I'm at now, and I don't work directly with all of them, but I do know that oh, that was cool. Something just popped up on the screen. That was all the way from Brisbane. Awesome. Isn't it like well, I guess it's the morning for them.
It's 8 a.m. for them,
8
so
a.m.
it's after dark for us, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So this is definitely orange juice. Cheers.
So, so my some of this is my hope. So there's a lot of teams, and I still see, individuals and teams struggle with, like, just tell me my role as a BA, tell me what to do and I'll do it, rather than feeling the confidence and comfortable, the ability, to just come together as a team and make that decision. But yes, I do believe, like, the skill sets are needed, right? You need to have, people with BA skills. You need people with PM skills. You need people that can develop, that can test. And those teams should decide. And in some cases, like if you have a junior developer, you're not going to have them kind of span too far out of their range. They're probably going to develop, and they're probably going to develop, maybe simpler stuff that, they're directed by a lead. But as you get a more mature team, it shouldn't be so, bifurcated or so siloed anymore. And because the goal is not to do, and I've always said this, the goal is not good business analysis. Who cares? Like, if you have good business analysis, but you don't have good developers and they don't design the solution right, and the PM or, a manager or a leader that didn't give the right vision, who cares if you have a great requirements for what? It's really that delivery that you're after.
Right.
So if everybody focuses on delivery, then on that goal, then who cares what you do, right?
Yeah, I think even going back to the Agile Manifesto, that's what they said. The goal was delivering functional software.
Yeah, right.
And
that provide value.
And that was 20 years ago.
Yeah,
20 plus years ago, by the way. I think it was 2001.
2001, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I really support, the whole agile. The problem with agile now, it's still the conversation. Uh, there's, agile versus waterfall, or we're hybrid agile. Like, I
Yeah.
don't care. Like, who cares? Like, it's like you
Yeah.
should be doing what you need to do to deliver. And I am a process guy. I think processes help. It helps in productivity. If you follow a process, then you can start to see where things are falling down and where you can make improvements. But process is not the end. Process is kind of the means to the end. You should use it to help you, but adapt that process whenever necessary to get to delivery, which is the goal. Yeah.
I
Some
think that's
companies that are doing a hybrid, it ends up being stumble fall because it just does not go well.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I, right now, I would say, that's why, like, that whole conversation, Steve, is like, what's hybrid, what's agile,
Yeah.
then you get into, oh, we're pure agile. Oh, we're not. We don't release every 2 weeks. Like, who cares? Like, we're not Amazon or Google where we could release every 2 weeks. So
Right.
if we release once a month, that's great. Or the systems we're building, at least a lot of us, that are listening, we're not working on sites that can throw out, new features every, 11 seconds or whatever the number is these days. It's like our user community doesn't want that. They can't handle that. So, um, again, it's like what makes sense for the business, and that's what you should be focusing on.
I feel like it's interesting. Like,
I feel like I'm
from
getting pissed here. I'm like mad. Like, your user, people listening in, you better listen to me. Do you think they should?
we'll
Is
have you
that
come in
tough
as
enough?
a segment every time, just like Coop rant, or
Right.
I think Coop Scoop. We'll just call it that.
Yeah.
And
All right. Hey, all right. Good,
and you
good
just come
callback
in.
from an earlier conversation.
That's right. But the interesting part for me was when you said that you are a portfolio manager, and then you're saying, I don't care what methodology that you use. That's interesting to me because I don't feel like that's often the take from portfolio managers. It's often prescribed as you will do it this way. This is the way that we're going to run that. And across all teams, so the entire organization or the entire downstream is going to be agile. We're all going to follow this, even when they have things like support teams that might even work better in a more traditional process. Right.
Right. Yeah. So my philosophy and what we try to do is we want to have consistency where consistency makes sense. So, like, and we do have a framework and we have a playbook of how projects are run, but the guardrails are pretty wide, right? Like, as long as you stay within those guardrails, you're gonna be good. And there's, I'll call them gates, but there's certain points that every project has to, you know, come for funding, and there's high level things that they have to hit. But
Sure.
after that, like, the teams have a lot of room to play in and do however they want to get there. Like, so as an example, yes, we're set up in teams. But if which means that we use Jira and we have 2 week sprints and we have all that, but if you break down your project a different way, where let's say it's more of a past waterfall-ish, where the team is doing a lot of design work up front, and then getting detailed stories to the developers, and the developers run. I mean, there's nothing stopping anybody from doing that. So we don't try to make every team operate the same way. We try to keep the guardrails wide enough that they can have room to play and figure out what's best for them.
So you
And it's
empower
not
them
easy.
and let them
I
work.
mean, it's not easy because, sorry, Steve, it's not easy because everybody's like, just they get into the mode of tell me how to operate. And it's like, you guys are professionals. You've been, we're not hiring, yes, we have, a new crop of people. We do a good job, I think, with interns coming in every year. So yes, there's, less experienced people that come in, but for the most part, we have a really high experienced team, so they know this stuff. But it's, sometimes it's more comfortable, or for whatever reason, you always have to find out what's the reason why they're not as comfortable just going for it and figuring out how to move forward without someone telling them step by step.
So you treat people like adults and professionals?
Yeah. Wow, it's crazy,
What?
right?
You empower them?
Right.
What's that like? I mean, that's the ideal,
Yeah.
is letting people get their work done the way that they know how.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, as a leader in an organization, I try, and it doesn't always work, but it's like, try to set the vision, what the goal we're after. So I've said goal a few times, but goals, goals could be for a project, it could be for a small assignment. It's like, what are you trying to accomplish? I don't care how you get from where we are today to the goal. Like, you go, you figure it out, use your experience. You've done this before. Um, and as long as we're hitting the goal, I'm okay. And, there could be check-ins and, hey, we still on track, you know, but besides that, but it's not easy. I mean, everybody, I'm on a project, the initiative I'm working on now. It's like, there's people all around me very nervous because they're not in all the day to day. So I'm getting asked all the time, well, where are we with that? How's that? Show me that. Bring me into all these meetings that you're having, right? So it's finding that balance of, how do you communicate to make people comfortable, to allow you to do those things, and actually moving forward. And sometimes, I'll even, if someone's like really passionate about a way to do something, I'm not going to also, for the sake of the initiative, I'm not going to fall on my sword and be like, nope, I'm doing it my way. And they're like, no, you're doing it this way. Nope, I'm doing it. I'll give in. I mean, that's part. It's like, okay, you want to do it that way? Sure, I can do it that way. And we'll give it a try. If it's not working, we'll come back and do it a different way. But if I kept arguing with the person, we're not going to make any progress.
Can I go back to something that you just said?
Nope.
When you were talking about,
we're moving forward, AJ. We are. Yeah.
you'll like where I'm going with this, I think.
Okay. All right.
So you were talking about the teams around you that don't necessarily trust that the project is going, or the initiative is going, and so they're asking you, "Can I be a part of this meeting?" It's a trust factor. How have you found improv to help with that trust factor? Because obviously you have to trust your partners when you are doing improv to know something. How have you found that you either build trust quickly or you exude trust to somebody else?
Yeah. So in improv, the view of trust is like, you have everybody's back, because so in improv, there's no scripts. So I'm going out there, I'm on stage. If I don't trust that, if you guys were in my troupe, that no matter what I said, you guys were going to take and go with it, then I would be very nervous. I would be hesitant. One of the things in improv is you have to think on your feet, react very quickly. If I didn't have trust that you guys had my back, and no matter what I did was okay, it would be really hard that's when I would get concerned about how I communicate and how I do things. So you could even think of, so it is around that. So how do you build trust? So we build trust as a team, by practicing together all the time and learning about each other. So we would do a lot of work. So we rehearsed like 3 times a week to perform once. And so people are like, wait a minute, you're improvising. You have no script, so why are you rehearsing so much? So we would put ourselves in situations that we might get into on stage. So not that we would rehearse lines, but we would put ourselves in positions and see what happened, and be comfortable that if I do say something in a rehearsal, how the other actors are taking that and doing stuff. So I'd start to get comfortable. The other thing, it was a good way to build characters. We'd play around with different characters, and if the scene called for it on stage, we could, bring that up. You get to learn the habits of your team members. So what they do well, what they don't do well, so you can start to set them up. and they would set me up. So that was a lot. So now, like, how does that translate to what we do every day? And I don't think we do enough of this. We don't rehearse enough. We don't spend enough time with our stakeholders. So as an example, like, a lot of my job now is communicating up to our executives of where we are with things. Well, I spend hours, and some people might think it's a waste of time, but it's so valuable because we spend hours of my core team prepping for that meeting, and we get ready. Like, we go through, what's the story we're going to tell, who's telling the story, and we battle back and forth. We go back and forth and have really good debates about how we should say it, what we should say. But when we come out of that meeting, like, the executives are like, great update, we got all the information we needed, we feel good. And then that builds that moment, those hours we spent together, and that, appreciation we get from our leadership. Now that secured trust with the team, and we feel really good.
So you're going in there as a team,
yes,
already, just so
yep.
that not just one question, and then now you're kind of doing the hot potato,
right? Yeah, or somebody saying something different that, wasn't in line. And then, I mean, we have one leader that when we're like in meetings and we're not completely agreeing, he's like, hey, Kupe, I want you to meet Joe. Joe, meet Kupe. He's like, do you guys talk to each other? Like, how could you not be on the same page with this?
Sure.
So I mean, he made us kind of, the fear of getting that comment in a meeting also drives that behavior. But so one of the things we do, and it's different than necessarily improv, but it is, we do debate. We allow and especially in my role, I allow people to, and I'll use the word argue, but it's not really argue, it's arguing their points. They're not arguing against each other, they're arguing their points so that we come up with a good solution. And this takes time. So how it goes back to my improv troupe, like, we were good on stage on a Saturday because we took a ton of time. Like, it appears that we are just like, we can get up and go do this anytime, anywhere with anyone. The answer is no. Like, I couldn't. Yes, could I get up and with an improv troupe today, and I understand the constructs of the game, and I know the basic rules. So yeah, could I do it? But it's not going to be great like it is when you're working with a team over and over and over, and you kind of learn the habits of everybody. And so I think we need to do more, I call it rehearsing, but more practice, than just going. And it's like getting ready for a meeting. Like, I think we run, and I'm at fault too. I do it all the time because we're so busy. But I run into a meeting that I'm supposed to facilitate, and I'm like, okay, let me pull up. What are we talking about today? And it just doesn't build that kills confidence for the rest of the team, right? Because then everyone's like, oh my, this guy Kupe again is running this meeting. He doesn't know what's going on. So that hurts confidence, hurts trust. Because then people get nervous for the next meeting. They're like, oh, I better talk to Kupe and find out if he's ready for this next meeting. Right. So preparation is a big part.
My favorite thing to do in that scenario, if I don't know what's going on, be like, hey, Steve, tell everybody that joke that you know, and then I'll turn my camera off or whatever. I'll mute. And then just now it's completely tossing the ball to Steve. And then he's like, and then
I already told it.
And then I'll come back and it's fun. But it's one of those things that
So you make Steve look bad, so you don't.
No.
Yeah, that's great.
It makes you look bad, but it's one of those things that it brings everybody together because we're all laughing to start out with.
Right. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
So one of the ideas that we always had in facilitation was be hard on ideas, easy on people.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly. Use that time preparation to really hammer out different points of view and perspectives to figure out what makes sense. Because, depending on who the audience is, the way you phrase it matters.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I like the argument. I think I read this in a Stoicism. Is that, baby, do you know that's where? I think it was a Stoicism thing. You don't You don't know all my thoughts?
I did.
Okay.
Yes, yours was
But it's like focusing on like debating and arguing about the issue, not the person, right?
Yeah.
It's you're just trying to figure out.
you're not arguing each other.
You are,
You're
right.
arguing the situation.
Yeah. You're not. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. See, she's the best.
Yeah, your Siri talks weird.
Her name is Sandy.
Yeah, it's not Siri, it's Sandy.
Yeah. We made fun of Dr. Jimmy quite a bit in Albuquerque when we were there, just because he's notorious for asking his wife what he should eat or what he should be doing, etc. And so he'll call or text or whatever. And so then I think her name's Stacy, and so we that was the joke, was like, "Hey Stacy, what should I eat here?" And so I think everybody needs their own Stacy.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Steve, what do you think? Should we field some phone calls?
I think we should.
Okay.
Oh, all right. This is like legit.
We are very professional on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let's eavesdrop on the BA hotline and see what provocative project problems are awaiting us. Is your project in hot water? Operators are standing by. Ooh, that's hot.
I think I would have liked my projects a lot better if she was part of my projects. Don't you think?
My wife? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
I met her. Yeah. Actually, I think you danced with her, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
Yeah.
At a
salsa
festival.
I think it was a salsa festival.
Salsa festival.
Not like the dip, but the dance.
Yeah. We were learning how to salsa dance.
That's right.
Great. Yeah, we did. It was all no hands. It was all individual dancing. How to move the hips.
That's right.
Right.
So then now next time you'll be brushing up on your Spanish, right? And that was one of the things we had talked about during the pre-show.
That's right.
And so
Sí, señor.
Bueno.
Mi hombres.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well done. It'd be mis hombres, but that's okay because it's plural. Mis hombres.
Oh,
Me.
Yeah.
You're close. All right. I'm early in the Duolingo.
I like it.
I'm still a rookie, so thank you for the tip.
So generally, this is where we would go in and we would open up. We'd actually have questions from our website that we can read off. Unfortunately, we don't have any from the website. So we're going to open this up to our audience right now. So if you have a comment or question about analysis, project management, portfolio management, improv,
Teamwork.
Spanish as a second language, Latin dancing, or Sandy, please just go ahead and enter those in for Kupe. It's really test Kupe right now. So you'll have the moment, Kupe, to practice your improv skills.
Oh yeah, I love it. Well, I'm looking at some of the chats here. So Steve, I see. So I commented on through YouTube, so everybody else seems to be on LinkedIn, so they don't see what I'm saying. All right. Well, that was a waste of typing. All right.
I was letting you know.
So when Amy said hi everyone, and then you said what's up, Amy, then she didn't see that at all.
Right.
Now she did.
Now she did though. Thank you.
She did.
Awesome. I see Leslie put something in there.
Oh, we do have a question.
Oh, that's right. We forgot our first question, Steve. I know. We forgot to ask Kupe the first question that we always ask everybody, which is, what is your favorite after dark activity? And then now that I read it, I think I remember why I didn't ask him, because he just said it was sleep.
It was so lame. I know.
Yeah.
So I had to ask these guys. I do love to sleep, but I had to ask these guys, like, what time, how long does this show go? Because depending on how long, I might have to have 1 or 2 Celsiuses to keep me going.
Okay.
I think, I'm an extrovert and need like interactions like this, but like you put me, it's dark, I lay down and that's it. So Sandy's here. She knows. Like we'll watch a TV show and
No, we don't watch it.
yeah,
I watch it.
yeah. She watches.
You
TV
sit and
shows,
sleep.
and
Sleep.
I see the intro and she's always asking me like, "Are you still watching?" Yeah. I'm
But
still
he's not.
watching, but I'm out.
With your eyes already closed. Yeah, I'm watching.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I've always been like early to bed, early to rise, but I'm up, by 5 o'clock every day.
No.
Sleeping in? What?
Yeah.
Slacker.
Oh, what time do you get up, Steve?
About 4:30.
Oh yeah. All right. You got me.
I go to bed at 12:01.
Oh man, you don't even need sleep. God, I thought I didn't get that much sleep though.
I bounce.
All right. So sleeping aside, what are Kupe's favorite improv games to play?
Good question. So there's a couple. So Yes and is one. I'll get to that in a second. But there's
No.
You've already failed, Steve.
So there's a real funny. Like I liked a lot of the call slapstick, physical humor games. So there's one that it's called Stand, Sit, Kneel. So you have three people up, and you have to. One person has to stand, one person has to sit, one person has to kneel. So it's really funny to work into a scene. And then we get, suggestions from the audience and then have to work into the scene reasons. Like if I'm standing, I have to find a reason to sit. So you're like thinking of how do I make the scene sound like a coherent scene, but also that it would be a reason for me to sit. And then the other person, so if I stand or if I'm standing and I sit, someone then has to stand and switch positions. And it gets, then we start to get faster with the movement, and that's really funny. There's another one, I forgot what it's called, but it's like two people are sitting like at a park bench having a conversation, and two people are standing behind them, and they're like their brains, right? So the people, when they talk, sitting, they're having a conversation, but the people behind them is what's happening in their brain. So that was always a fun one to play with. Then we called it pantomime, but it was like a person would go out of the room and the audience would give us like an activity, and then we would switch up the activity. So it was like, instead of skiing, you're not skiing with skis, you're skiing with watermelons on your feet or something like that. And the person would come back in, and they would have to guess what it was. But the way the actors on stage would portray it to the people is through miming, right? They could use gibberish, but they couldn't use actual words. So it was a really like physical, fun, and to see the actors play back and forth off each other, and try to figure out what was going on was good.
And you've done that for charity a couple times too, right?
Erica Woods and Apex had a charity event that me and a couple of my old improv guys did. Yep, and that was one of the games we played. Yeah.
It was a samurai. I remember that.
Oh yeah? Oh, I have better memory than me. But Yes and, I like Yes and because it's a game that we play on stage, but it's also kind of the core to everything improv, and it should be the core to everything that we do to build trust and be a good team player. It's like you never deny. So when I said yes and, I think y'all heard Steve say no, right? So the core thing in improv is you never deny what someone else is saying. So I talked about the others having your back. If I said something like, hey guys, let's talk about PMs today, and you guys are like, nope, that puts everything back on me, and now I have to think of something else to say, and it's a lot of pressure. And one, for improv comedy, it's not fun, right? It's just boring, like everybody saying no. So the goal is to take an idea and everybody keeps building on it until on stage, for us, it was getting a big laugh. So we'd play that on stage, and it gets real creative and fun. But in real life, and this is one I do during my keynotes, that I have people at their tables kind of play yes and you find some people that do get into the habit of saying yes but, right? And that's what is a killer in our teams. If everybody talks about, we want to collaborate, we want to brainstorm, we want to come up with ideas, but people start saying things and other people are like, yeah, but we tried that already. We did that already. We can't do that. How are we going to get that done? And, if that is the message you keep getting, what are you going to do? You're going to stop participating, right? So now you're not a team anymore. Then it's like, you know what? Go ahead. You just tell us what to do and we'll do it. And then everybody's sitting there, right? I mean, so you have to have this attitude at work, this yes and attitude to keep things going. But I just said but.
You just said but.
So yes, yes, and in work, you have to have this yes and attitude. And we also have time constraints. We also have money constraints, resource constraints. So I think it's really important to know how to have a yes and attitude without actually saying yes and keep on adding to things. So the message is, you shouldn't have an ego at work that everything. So if someone has an idea, and to me, it's very egotistical for me to say, yeah, but AJ, we can't do that. We don't have money to do that. AJ, we did that before. We can't do it. So that's a very ego-driven thing. You're telling me an idea and you believe it's a good idea, right? So the opposite is to ask or to have the attitude that you don't know everything, right? So AJ, help me understand how that idea is going to fit into the goal that we have. And
on the flip side, then too, I would ask you, help me figure out how we can make that feasible financially or whatever. So it should be that collaborative approach, I think.
Right. Exactly.
So
yeah. So that's having.
Yes.
there's a specific request here to say, take that back, and Mr. and Mrs. Know-It-All, ask Kupe to share those if he's in the mood to. So someone's putting you on the spot here, which is fantastic. Also, it's someone, so we don't even know who that is. It's an anonymous user.
LinkedIn user. So I'm not sure what Take That Back is. But Mr. or Mrs. Know-It-All, well, there were two, and we called, I forgot what we called it Answer Man. I don't know if this is the same thing, but we'd have like 3 people up on stage, and the audience would ask us questions, and we'd have to answer the question one word at a time. All right. So we just keep going around, and you'd have to respond to whatever the person said. So it would come. So I'm not sure what Take That Back is. I don't know if I played that one.
Got a new one to try.
Sorry, LinkedIn user.
And then, have you read How Big Things Get Done by, I don't know if that was a typo.
Flabberjay?
Not trying that one. And Dan Gardner.
I know. No, I haven't read that.
I haven't either.
Have you guys read that one?
No.
Yeah, I read a lot of Patrick Lencioni. He drives a lot of, in my opinion, like thought leader for me. Dan Pink is another one.
Yeah.
But I haven't read that, so I'll write that one down.
I'm putting it in the show notes right now.
Okay,
so.
great. Yeah.
It looks like we have a response on the Mr. Mrs. Answer Man woman. Yes.
Oh, right. Thing. So it's the same. Yeah, and it's interesting. So when I was doing the 90s, it was okay to say Answer Man, right? But now,
Answer Person.
I get it. Like it should be Answer Person, right?
Yeah. I do enjoy watching the old episodes, and even the new ones of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
That's always
so good.
Just one of those. I'll throw it on at lunch or watch that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The scene from The Office,
Scenes
I think.
from a Hat.
Say again?
Scenes from a Hat. It's my favorite.
So my favorite was from The Office, where Steve Carell's character doing improv and going to improv classes.
Oh, really?
Everything was like, I've got a gun, and then that was his line for everything, and it was. They were trying to do the yes and then he'd always come in with, but I've got a gun, and it was his whole shtick the entire time. And then once you can do anything but that, you can't do that anymore. He's like, okay. Did he whisper to somebody else? And it was just hilarious. So just watching that, I can imagine.
He's one, from what I understand too, he's definitely, probably one of the best improvisers out there. And I know he did, if I
Second City, right?
remember not Second City, what's the one in Chicago? Why am I?
Second City.
Oh, that is Second City.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I thought there was something in Toronto I was thinking of. But yeah,
Okay.
he was at Second City in Chicago. And from what I understand, he was part of a group that they improvised. They started out the first night and did like a full improvised skit. And then they would go back and kind of take pieces of that skit that they really liked. And that became part of the script and
Okay.
improvised around it and kept doing that every night until they finally got like this cool scripted sketch comedy. So yeah, he's one of the best comedians out there. I love him. But then he tries to do these serious movies. He's good at that too, but
Yeah.
They're not as much fun though.
no.
It's interesting to watch him play that and then, bridge the gap on both.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you have a question, visit analystsafterdark.com and submit your own inquiry to the BA hotline, and we'll make sure that we answer it with our guest next time. Put them on the spot.
Yeah.
That makes it fun.
When I see someone talk about Improv Olympics or Improv Olympic, there's a whole, the battle improv. It's kind of, and Whose Line Is It Anyway had a thing on that where they rated, gave points to different players and stuff. Yeah.
But the point for meaningless. It was great.
Oh yeah. Right.
Nothing mattered.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
I think it'd be a lot of fun. I just don't see myself being wacky enough for some of those. Some of the more, I like the drier sense of humor where you can just kind of throw something out there and it lands and it's funny on that. But I don't know.
No, but there's a space in there. So we had this guy, Chris Green, was like this. He wasn't like, we had some people that were very like, their thing was the physical. I felt I was somewhere in between physical and cerebral. And then we had some people that and Chris Green, there was a guy that I performed with. It was one of the best, didn't do anything physical, but the stuff he came up with, man, it was like hilarious and dry sense of humor, straight faced. So I think you're very quick witted. So I think you would do fine up there. And it comes down to, it's like getting comfortable. And like us, our friends group, you're very quick and fast, right? And so it's getting comfortable, in that mode. And if you're comfortable with a troupe and you learn kind of the boundaries of each of the games, you would do awesome.
I think it's the social boundaries that I would miss.
I think. On stage we keep things above the belt. So
oh yeah.
Geez.
So you might have a hard time with that.
That's fair. All right. So then let's talk a little bit about confessions.
And now it's time for BA Confessions.
All right. So this is the part of the show where we normally, again, would read confessions from different audience members where they get to share stories about their workplace, the projects they've been on, all these different things anonymously. And then we get to air their dirty laundry. So with us, I can't really take that in comments because now you're reading. So
Right.
Amy says, but I've definitely shared several of my own mess ups that I've got, just finding like, oh yeah, that was me. I'm just not gonna
That was
own
Bill.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Bill from Bethesda.
being on the portfolio management side, Kupe, you've probably seen a lot of project faux pas.
Mm-hmm.
Can you remember one that you've gone in and said, that's a big one and that is absolutely hilarious?
Well, I don't know if it was hilarious. Like, as you're talking about this, I was thinking, like, what am I going to confess to? But I don't know if it was hilarious because it was earlier in my career and I was, scared about what was going down in a room. But I thought, and again, this was maybe some ego involved. So I was with a group of us, and we were tasked to come up with improvements for this one area. And we came up with improvements, and one of them was to move a set of people from under one management in one department to another, because there was a lot of back and forth, and there was just, a lot of inefficiencies. So I thought, this is a great freaking idea. We were asked to improve. Well, when I presented it to leadership, I literally almost got fired because I did not communicate that to the manager, that where I thought those people should move away from. I didn't have that conversation with her prior to that conversation. So, and she was the type of person that I think, like to have her fiefdom and have people under her. And, so here's this little punk coming, and saying they shouldn't be on your team anymore. So, yeah, it got ugly. It didn't happen in the meeting, but after the meeting, I was sweating. I think I just had a new child too. So I was like, oh my God, I got this kid, I'm not going to be able to feed him.
Yeah.
But, I think it was good that I had that mistake. One, I learned, like, there's no way to learn from that without like stepping in it. And the other thing is, like, I also learned that I didn't lose my job. Right. So yeah, I was nervous, and I made a story up in my head and thought it was going to be bad, but I kept my job, learned from it, kept moving, forward. And I think it's important. I mean, I think when stuff goes bad, I think it's actually good, right?
We learn.
So no consequences?
Use it as a learning opportunity. So, and even if I did get fired, I would have used it as a learning opportunity.
A very big one.
It would have hurt. Yeah, it would have hurt a little more, but could always fall back on improv. That was mine.
Yeah, sometimes those learning opportunities aren't as much fun.
All right.
I had somewhat of a similar situation where I was a newer BA, and they moved me from development to business analysis, and then I also, like, the next I think I was a BA for 6 months, and they moved me into a team lead situation. And then the woman that had been on my team, and she'd been a BA for probably 15 years, she now reported to me, and now I had to teach her and coach her. And I was like, yeah, there's not a whole lot I'm going to be able to do here for that. And so our first conversation, I don't think she liked me either, which, fair, but I get that. But at the same time, it was, how can I help you? And then she just looked at me like, I don't know how you're going to help me at all.
Right.
So yeah, very awkward scenario where it's like, I guess we'll just have lunch,
We'll just sit here and stare at each other.
Right. And then it's like, what do we have in common? And we realized that it was not a whole lot. So series of several awkward lunches, but I totally get, this comment. Like,
yeah, it's awkward, uncomfortable. Yeah, no, I was definitely in and that still happens. I mean, there's, I think in our work, there's a lot of deadlines, there's a lot of pressure. And you get people that do get heated. I mean, I hope it doesn't get, into nasty situations, but
right.
It's, and I think this comes with time, with age, with experience. Steve's already kind of told everybody how long I've been around for, but I think with age, with experience and knowledge, there comes a little confidence, and also the ability to, you get reprimanded. I don't know what the right word is, but reprimanded or, scolded in a meeting or pushed hard in a meeting, that it's like, okay, like the way to look at it is like, all right, what could I have done differently so I would have been more prepared and not had that response? You can't control, the old adage, you can't control other people's behavior, right? You can just control yours. So I can't control people from reacting to me in a certain way, but what I can do is sit back and learn, what can I do different to,
right.
improve, right? And that's where I even go back now. I mean, I want to stay working where I am, but I do the things that I think are important and what I think is right. And if people at my office don't like that, then maybe it's not the right place for me. But I do think that comes over time, right? I mean, with experience and confidence that you can do something somewhere else.
So did that stepping out of line or not following chain of command change your behavior?
Well, yeah, no, it made me think of, okay, like she had a visceral reaction to what I did. I should have had a one-on-one conversation with her to say, hey, this is what I'm proposing. This is why I'm proposing it. And she might have had a similar reaction in front of me, but then in front of her boss and her peers, she would have maybe not only not disagreed, she might have come around to the point where, hey, I agree with that approach and back it, right? So it's all, we talked, at the beginning, and why I focus on collaboration a lot. It's in communication. It's all about that, and how we're not robots. We have feelings. We have, day to day, we're different with what's going on in our lives. So in what we do, you have to factor that into everything you do, and be thinking about, okay, how am I going to approach this situation? How am I going to approach that person? And the more, and it is a difficult thing with a lot of people working remote, you don't have those, outside the meeting conversations like we always did. And that's hard. I mean, that's how I got to know people. Yeah. I always tell a story. Do we still have time or? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. We can.
I mean, I don't know this time you fall asleep. So how many energy drinks?
And I literally might close my eyes and fall asleep while the show's going on before you end it.
Yeah. It'd be great for, the ratings.
Yeah.
Oh, he's asleep. Awesome.
He falls asleep in his own show. Yeah. So I used to do, like in offices, I used to do drive-bys by people's desks, but before I saw them in meetings to see, like, what do they have on their desk? Do they like sports? Do they have a family? Whatever it is. So there's one person who was tough. I knew she was rough around the edges, very direct, to the point, and I'm like, I got to get to know this person and become part of her inner circle. So I saw she had, a picture of her and her husband at a Braves game. So the next meeting we were in, I just opened it up and we were waiting for people to come in, and I was talking to her, and I'm like, oh, did you see the Braves game last night? It was such a good game. She's like, don't talk to me about the Braves. You are not here to talk about the Braves. I was like, oh, shit. So that didn't go over well, but I ended up becoming like really good friends with her, and but we can't do that. Like, we can't do drive-bys as much. It's not as easy. It doesn't just happen organically. You got to make an effort to do that.
Yeah, they call that social engineering, just so you know. And hackers use that to gain access to buildings and stuff. So well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, I finally figured out her password. So.
All right. Kupe, thank you so much for joining us.
Awesome, guys.
Fantastic. Where can people find you?
I think the best, hit me up on LinkedIn. Just type in Kupe and you should find me there.
Okay.
Wow, that was.
Hey.
You type fast, dude.
I do. You have no idea. Well, this has been the first of the EA Jam sessions. We have several more coming up. We're going to play the promo after this session, but I wanted to ask you before we do, Kupe, any famous last words, things to encourage the audience, anything that you would just want everybody else to know?
Yeah, I think the key is, like, I think you mentioned it at the beginning of hard skills, soft skills. It's real, to me, the hard skills that we have to learn how to use Jira, write user stories. That to me is like, yeah, there's a base thing, but they don't change that often. it's really every day focusing on the people that you work with, how you're going to interact with them. And if you approach them and the way they want to be interacted with, then it's going to be better. It's going to be, a better place to work, and people are going to enjoy working with you. And you'll build that trust with the team members. So focus on the people, not the work all the time.
Love it.
It's ironic that the people skills are sometimes the hardest ones to
they
manage.
are, and they're constant. It's constant. Because I said earlier, people change day to day too. So you think you're interacting with someone in a certain way, and then all of a sudden they don't respond the way you thought they were going to respond. So you have to improvise and figure out what's going on. I'm done. I'm like,
no, it's perfect.
Falling asleep here.
Well, it's 9:05, so we got to make sure that we end this quickly before you turn into a pumpkin. It's been fantastic. It's great seeing you in Albuquerque. It's great seeing you again here too. So always have a lot of fun with you. That's our show, everybody. So we will end this with the promo for the other BA Jam session. So make sure you stay tuned, keep in touch there. And that's us telling you and encouraging you to stay curious
and stay positive.
Awesome.
All right. So here we go. Check this out. Check out the BA Jam. And we've got several more sessions with IABA members and people that have been in the industry for a long time with a lot of great info to share. So if you don't know where that is, go on LinkedIn, and if you search for BA Jam, there's a group there for you, or you can check out the QR code that's going to show up at the end of the video. So thank you very much. Have a great evening, and we'll catch you next time.
See you guys.